I read somewhere that hardly anyone stays politically active for more than a decade, and even to get to that point is rare. It's a lonely activity. If you are that committed, then you have both a stubborn streak and some strange ideas. Ideas that may be right or wrong, but that most people find quite odd. The hardest part is not having ideas, the hard part is getting things to happen. I never wanted to be a writer or a political theorist. I've always wanted to be politically active, to be destroying the things that are destroying me and the things that I love. That has always been my goal, to defend the things that I love. What I have found is that at every point you remain politically lonely because the strange ideas that keep you going also keep you from building cohesive groups. There is always a reason to not do something or to not associate with someone, and of course it works both ways. Others have these feelings as well. Instead of getting stronger, we just know more people. Have I made any contribution to defending the things that I love? What can I point to and say that exists because I was a part of defending it? I keep running into the same problem. People don't want to do anything. People want to talk about how bad things are. They want to assign blame. They want to tell you what punishment they want to dish out. But actually doing anything? No. I'm not saying nothing has been done or that absolutely no one has done anything, but those people are as rare as hen's teeth. The reason hen teeth are rare is because hens don't have teeth. A few years ago, I delivered about 4,000 leaflets. I received one reply. A woman wrote to me and told me that I'd changed her life, that her life had been heading in one direction, and because of my leaflet, she'd been introduced to another type of life, and she liked it. Occasionally you get something good. Most often you hear silence, and you just hope that what you are doing is not shouting into the wind. Recently I sent out an email with a suggestion to the Melbourne traditionalists about what we could do during the current corona panic. I suggested that we could use this time to get on to as many social media platforms as we could, with each person looking after a single platform. I received one reply, and they said it wasn't for them. At least he replied. Why is it that even among a group of people who I personally know, I got so little response? I was also recently involved with a group who were putting together a media proposal, but it didn't get the support it needed because not all of the I's were dotted and not all the T's were crossed. There's always a reason not to do things, and there are always, it seems, people who like it exactly that way. Once the perfect plan has been assembled, then, and only then, will it be the time to start doing things. By God, it disgusts me. As someone told me last year, we don't have to wait for a rainy day. It's raining right now. I watched a mini-series called Guyana Tragedy, the story of Jim Jones. It was made in 1980. If you don't know his life story, here's a brief outline. James Warren Jim Jones, 1931 to 1978, was an American communist and cult leader. Ordained as a Disciples of Christ pastor, Jones founded and led the radical leftist People's Temple, often described as having cult-like qualities. In 1978, media reports of human rights abuses in People's Temple's Jonestown surfaced. Democratic Congressman Leo Ryan led an investigation into the commune and was murdered while boarding a return flight with defectors. Jones subsequently committed a mass murder-suicide of 918 of his followers in Jonestown, Guyana. Nearly 300 children were murdered, almost all of them by cyanide poisoning via a flavour aid mix. This historical episode gave rise to the ubiquitous American English expression, drinking the Kool-Aid. In the miniseries, there's a scene about political power. Jim Jones started the People's Temple in Indianapolis, and in 1960 was made director of the Human Rights Commission in that city. Why? Because he could control votes. In other words, he got his congregation and other supporters to vote for who he wanted them to vote for. that translates into political power. With that power, he made sure that his supporters got jobs, including within the government, which then gave him more power. When you read it, it's quite clear. It even sounds obvious. So why aren't we doing it? Because it's much easier to complain than to do things. It's much easier to leave it to someone else. It's much easier to wait for the perfect plan. There are so many simple things that we can do to fight back, but until we actually start doing them, we can't win. And we really need to.